Alright, good afternoon everyone. This is Cody Brown from Cody Brown Reflections, but this is a new podcast that we are starting, and a new podcast that is going to be available exclusively on YouTube, so that way it's free to listen to, it's free to subscribe to, and things like that. This podcast is called Faith to Believe. And this is going to be a whole podcast, and it's even going to have its own channel. And if you're listening to this, you're probably already on that channel. Is the Faith to Believe podcast YouTube channel page. We don't have any websites or social media or anything like that, but this is an adjunct work of Cody Brown Reflections. And in this first little episode, I want to talk about what I want to accomplish with this podcast. Kind of the things that we're going to be going over as far as teaching, some things that is going to kind of encourage this kind of thing, and so on and so forth. So yeah, we've got several things to get into, and some other things that I want to make mention of as well. I've got a couple of books here that we will eventually get around to talking about. So this podcast is going to be, something simple. I don't know how long each episode will be, but it will be on a weekly basis, and it will probably be on a Saturday. Just to make life easier for me, because I do a lot of stuff throughout the week, as far as that's concerned. But anyway, we've got a whole lot of issues that we can cover here in Faith to Believe. And it's really something that's meant for apologetics. And the Bible talks so much about proving the existence of God. I'll look at some scriptures here with you. We're going to look at 1 Peter chapter 3 at verse 15. It says, "But in your hearts honor Christ the Lord as holy, always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you, yet do it with gentleness and respect." And so that's the verse that most apologists will go to. 1 Peter 3:15, be ready to make a defense, give an answer, something along that line. And then we look at the Gospel according to John, which the Gospel according to John could be something that we end up studying through as a little segment. But we look at the Gospel according to John, and we look at John's mission statement here in John chapter 20, verses 30 and 31. It says, "Now Jesus did many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book, but these are written so that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that by believing you may have life in his name." And so that's John 20, verses 30 and 31. Both of those scripture quotations are from the English Standard Version as of this time. But going through the Gospel according to John might be something beneficial along that line, and it would really cover, faith to believe. That book's design is to help you build faith. So, and I want to talk about some other books that I've got here. I've got, and these books each cover issues, except for one, honestly. And the one that doesn't cover really any issue, but it represents an issue, is my Greek New Testament, the Nestle All-in 28th edition. That's the current Greek New Testament that I have. I'm going to invest into some more. But I have this, and this issue represents the reliability of the New Testament, the reliability of modern translations and things like that. And that's issues that you really have to study into and you really have to dig into, to get where you're going and to get, what you want to get into. And so you got, a whole Greek New Testament here that it's just filled with material that you have to look at. And, we can look at that. And we'll definitely bring up some of this stuff when we get to it. But there's that. That's really all I want to say about that. And that can cover, a slew of topics as well. And then we have a couple of books on apologetics. This is called Surveying the Evidence by Apologetics Press. And it's the evidence for, the Christian religion, the existence of God, the existence of a creation rather than evolution, and, just so many other little aspects of Christianity, the basics. But it's surveying the evidence. It gives you some evidence for New Testament Christianity. And to go along with that, I've been reading this book, and it's a great little book. It's called Reasons to Believe, also by Apologetics Press. And this goes into proving the existence of God, proving that Jesus is who he said he was, and proving that the Bible is accurate and consistent. So that's a book there, and that's a neat little book there. I've got another book over here that I didn't grab. And this book, it says, How Do You Know the Bible is from God? And it says by Kyle Butt. And it's a little book focusing on the Bible. And so we can, definitely look into that as well for biblical arguments. And then I've got some lecture books. And I'm going to have some more added to my collection eventually. This book is from the 2013 Florida College Lectures, and it's the studies on the resurrection, and that would help us, with the resurrection and things like that. And the resurrection is very important in that, and so it's a good book to go through, and we can definitely look into that some. And then we have something that's a little more doctrinal, and it's a lot doctrinal, because this book is a result of a series of messages that was preached by the author here, and it's called Why I Am a Member of the Church of Christ by Leroy Brownlow. And, this book has his reasons that he's a member of the Church of Christ, and I would agree with every one of these reasons. And he gives nothing but scripture in this. So sorry if you can hear the tractor in the background. That's something new. That is not part of the show, but I think that that we can look at the tractor, something like that. But anyway. We have a lot of those books that we can go through, and then I have, other books that are, like I said, are coming in, and other books I plan on buying. That's the kind of stuff that we're going to be looking at, is, from the broad spectrum of, the existence of God to the faith and practice system of New Testament Christianity. That's a lot to cover, and there's a lot of time to cover it in. So this is just a first episode saying, hey, this is what we're about, and this is this is what we hope to accomplish. And so our first episode is officially over. It's a nice little 10-minute episode I can't promise every episode will be that short, honestly. But as we get into deeper things like theology, I think it'll be well worth your time. So, this is Cody Brown, and you're listening to Faith to Believe, and I will see you next week. Bye, and have a great week.